Welcome back, folks. Tonight, we're plunging into the strange, dark, and mysterious world of the traveling carnival, with a comic book twist. Picture a carnival after midnight, the music gone, the lights out, and the painted smiles hiding secrets in the shadows. We'll explore 3 chilling tales that unfold after the crowds vanish, each more unsettling than the last. And trust me, the final story has a twist you won't see coming. If you love the strange and mysterious, you're in the right place. Let's step into the darkness. Our first story begins at a forgotten funhouse, a relic of a bygone era where laughter once echoed and thrills were manufactured. Now only shadows dance within its decaying walls, and the air hangs heavy with the weight of forgotten memories. It stands on the outskirts of town, a silent sentinel guarding secrets best left undisturbed. Its entrance is a giant, leering clown face. The paint is cracked and peeling, revealing the wood beneath, and one of its eyes is missing, leaving a gaping hole that seems to stare into your very soul. The smile is wide and unsettling, a grotesque parody of joy that promises anything but. 4 friends, Liam, Chloe, Ben and Maya, young and reckless, fueled by a potent mix of boredom and bravado. They were inseparable, bound by shared secrets and a thirst for adventure, no matter how ill-advised. They dared each other to sneak in after hours, a foolish game born of late-night whispers and urban legends. The thrill of trespassing, the allure of the unknown, it was a siren song they couldn't resist. They were chasing local legends of hauntings, tales whispered around campfires and passed down through generations. Stories of strange occurrences, unexplained disappearances, and a lingering sense of unease that clung to the abandoned carnival like a shroud. Inside, their flashlights revealed warped cartoon faces on the walls. Their once vibrant colors faded and peeling. The air was thick with the smell of dust and decay, a musty odor that clung to their clothes and filled their lungs. Eyes followed their every move. Painted eyes, carved eyes, eyes that seemed to pierce through the darkness and see into their very souls. They were surrounded by a silent audience, their presence both unnerving and inescapable. The Hall of Mirrors twisted their reflections, a grotesque funhouse of fractured realities. Each mirror presented a different version of themselves, a distorted caricature of their hopes and fears. Liam's sneered, a cruel and mocking visage. Chloe's wept, tears streaming down a face etched with sorrow. Ben's was skeletal, a chilling premonition of mortality, and Maya's was missing entirely, a void where her reflection should have been. Panic set in as Ben's reflection reached out, a desperate attempt to break free from its mirrored prison. The air grew cold, and a sense of dread washed over them. Bony fingers pressed against the glass, scraping and clawing, a terrifying image that burned itself into their minds. They knew with a certainty that chilled them to the bone, that they were no longer alone. A thumping heartbeat echoed through the funhouse, growing louder with each passing second, resonating in their chests and pounding in their ears. It was a primal rhythm, a relentless pulse that seemed to emanate from the very walls themselves. They stumbled into a spinning maze, a disorienting vortex of swirling colors and distorted perspectives. The floor tilted beneath their feet and the walls seemed to shift and change, trapping them in a dizzying labyrinth. Laughter taunted them from every direction, a chorus of mocking voices that echoed through the maze, playing on their fears and insecurities. It was a cruel and insidious game, designed to break their spirits and drive them to madness. Ben was separated, lost in the labyrinthine corridors, his cries fading into silence, swallowed by the darkness. Panic seized the remaining friends as they realized the true danger they were in. The others pressed on, desperate to find their friend and escape the nightmarish funhouse, their hearts pounding with fear and adrenaline. Every shadow seemed to conceal a lurking threat, every sound amplified their terror. They found a carousel with a cracked porcelain doll in a jester's costume, its painted smile a grotesque mockery of joy. The carousel stood silent and still, a macabre monument to lost innocence. The doll's head turned, its eyes locking onto theirs, a silent invitation to join its twisted game. A shiver ran down their spines as they realized the doll was more than just a lifeless object. A music box nearby began to play, its tinny notes playing Pop Goes the Weasel, a deceptively cheerful tune that sent a wave of dread through them. The melody was distorted and off-key, a haunting echo of childhood innocence corrupted. Behind the carousel they found Ben, his fate sealed in the heart of the funhouse's madness. His face was painted in a grotesque clown smile, a horrifying imitation of the clown at the entrance, his eyes empty, frozen in terror, reflecting the horrors he had witnessed. He was no longer Ben, but a hollow shell, a puppet of the funhouse. Horror overwhelmed them. They ran, their screams lost in the cacophony of the funhouse, their minds reeling from the gruesome discovery. They crashed through walls, desperate to escape the clutches of the funhouse, chased by the doll's mocking tune which seemed to grow louder with every step. The music box melody was a constant reminder of their friend's fate, a haunting soundtrack to their escape. They escaped into the night, gasping for breath, their bodies trembling with fear, never speaking of what happened inside the midnight funhouse. The memory was too raw, the trauma too deep. The carnival left town, disappearing without a trace, but the legend of the midnight funhouse remained, a chilling reminder of the darkness that lurks beneath the surface of the ordinary. Ben was never seen again. Officially, he ran away, another statistic in the endless cycle of missing persons. But his friends knew the truth. He was still inside, trapped within the funhouse's twisted reality, a permanent part of the nightmare, forever bound to the carnival's dark secrets, a silent testament to its insatiable hunger. Sometimes on quiet nights, when the wind whispers through the empty fields, they swear they hear the faint music box melody drifting on the wind, a haunting reminder of their lost friend. The funhouse waits for its next visitors, its shadows deepening, its secrets growing, hungry for new stories to consume and new souls to trap. And the painted clown at the entrance always smiles a little wider, its grotesque grin a silent promise of the horrors that await within. Our next tale unfolds beneath the grand, often unsettling Big Top, a place where dreams and nightmares dance a delicate waltz. It's a realm where the dazzling magic of the carnival seeks to conceal something far more sinister, a darkness that lurks just beneath the surface of the spectacle, a darkness that feeds on secrets and despair. Sarah, a bright and ambitious journalism student driven by a thirst for truth and a desire to make her mark, came to the shadowy backstage of this very circus to interview Puddles the Clown, the supposed star of the show. Puddles, whose real name was Arthur, a name that seemed to carry the weight of the world on its shoulders. Sarah was hoping to uncover the truth, to peel back the layers of grease paint and forced smiles, and expose the man beneath the mask. She wanted to understand the soul behind the clown, but backstage, Arthur was a haunted figure, a specter of his former self, his eyes filled with a deep, unshakable sorrow. He was nervously clutching a tarnished locket, an old keepsake that seemed to be the only tangible connection to a life he had lost. He kept glancing nervously at the encroaching shadows as if expecting some unseen horror to emerge and claim him. "Stay after everyone leaves," he whispered, his voice raspy and strained, barely audible above the distant sounds of the departing crowd. "I have one last show," he continued, his eyes pleading, "just for you." Alone in the cavernous, empty tent, the silence was deafening, broken only by the occasional creak of the aging structure. Sarah watched with a growing sense of unease as Puddles slowly, deliberately returned to the center ring. His movements were stiff and unnatural, almost puppet-like, as if he were being controlled by invisible strings. His painted smile, usually so wide and jovial, was now twisted in a silent scream of agony, a mask barely concealing the torment beneath. Then from the shadows, a tall, imposing figure emerged, a faceless ringmaster, his presence radiating an aura of cold authority. His voice, deep and resonant, boomed from seemingly nowhere, filling the tent with an unsettling echo. "Ladies and gentlemen, for his final performance, the one, the only, Puddles the Clown." The ringmaster cracked a whip with a sharp, resounding snap, the sound cutting through the silence like a knife. He was forcing Puddles through a grotesque parody of his once-beloved act, a twisted mockery of joy and laughter. It was a macabre spectacle, a dance of despair performed under the watchful eye of a silent, malevolent audience. Each pratfall, each stumble, each forced smile was more painful and humiliating than the last, a testament to Arthur's suffering. Tears streaked down Arthur's face, carving dark rivers through his carefully applied makeup, a visible manifestation of his inner turmoil. He danced with a desperate, anguished energy, trapped in a living nightmare from which there seemed to be no escape. Sarah, horrified by what she was witnessing, pleaded with the ringmaster to stop, begging him to show some mercy. But the ringmaster, his faceless visage unchanging, only replied with a chillingly indifferent tone, "The show must go on." Driven by a surge of adrenaline and a desperate need to help Arthur, Sarah rushed towards the ring, determined to intervene. She swung her heavy metal thermos with all her might, aiming for the one thing that seemed to be binding Arthur to this torment. She aimed for the tarnished locket that hung around Puddles' neck, the locket he had been clutching so desperately. With a resounding crack, the chain snapped, the locket falling to the dusty ground. Puddles collapsed to the ground, his body limp and lifeless. The ringmaster shrieked, a sound of pure, unadulterated rage that seemed to shake the very foundations of the tent. And then, as suddenly as it began, the tent plunged into complete and utter darkness. Blinded by the sudden darkness, Sarah fled in terror, stumbling through the maze-like corridors of the backstage area. The ringmaster's ear-splitting scream echoed behind her, a constant reminder of the horror she had just witnessed. She finally escaped the confines of the cursed carnival, running as fast as her legs could carry her, desperate to put as much distance as possible between herself and that place of nightmares. But the memory of that night, the images of Arthur's suffering seared into her mind, and the horrifying truth of Arthur's torment, the realization that he was trapped in a cycle of endless suffering, would haunt her dreams and shape her waking hours forever, a constant reminder of the darkness that lurks beneath the surface of the world. Some say the Big Top is cursed, that it's a place where the veil between worlds is thin, a conduit for dark and malevolent entities. And they whisper that Puddle's last show never truly ends, that his tormented performance continues on an endless loop, a chilling spectacle for those unfortunate enough to stumble upon it. Our final story centers on the Ferris wheel, the carnival's most romantic ride. It stands tall against the night sky, a beacon of innocent joy, promising breathtaking views and fleeting moments of connection. But beneath the surface of twinkling lights and laughter, a darker narrative spins, one that whispers of lost souls and twisted fates. The Ferris wheel, a symbol of soaring dreams, can also become a cage, trapping its passengers in an endless loop of terror. Until midnight falls. As the clock strikes 12, the atmosphere shifts. The air grows heavy, the music fades, and the shadows lengthen, stretching like grasping fingers across the carnival grounds. The Ferris wheel, once a source of delight, transforms into a sinister silhouette against the moonlit sky. It becomes a portal, a gateway to a realm where the boundaries between reality and nightmare blur. Mark and Jessica, the last riders of the night, eager to steal a final moment of romance before the carnival closes its gates. They climb into the gondola, unaware that they are embarking on a journey from which there may be no return. Their laughter echoes in the night air, masking the ominous silence that awaits them at the top. Ascended above the sleeping fair, the world shrinks below them, the vibrant colors of the carnival fading into a muted tapestry of shadows. They feel a sense of detachment, as if they are floating between two worlds, suspended between the familiar and the unknown. The higher they climb, the more isolated they become, vulnerable to the forces that lurk in the darkness. As the wheel turned, the lights below faded one by one as if extinguished by an unseen hand. The joyous atmosphere of the carnival is replaced by an unsettling stillness, a silence that amplifies the beating of their hearts. They look down, searching for signs of life, but find only darkness and the creeping tendrils of fear, replaced by silence and fog. A thick, impenetrable fog rolls in, swallowing the carnival whole. It clings to the air, damp and cold, obscuring their vision and suffocating their senses. They are enveloped in a world of gray, lost in a sea of uncertainty. The fog seems to whisper secrets, chilling them to the bone. On their second rotation, the carnival was gone, vanished without a trace, as if it had never existed. The vibrant lights, the joyous sounds, the throngs of people, all replaced by an empty, desolate landscape. They are alone, adrift in a world that has been stripped bare, left to confront the terrifying reality of their situation. Just an empty field shrouded in mist. The ground stretches out beneath them, a barren expanse of nothingness. The mist swirls and dances, creating illusions and distorting reality. They feel a sense of disorientation as if they are trapped in a dream, unable to wake up. Panic set in. Their hearts race, their breath catches in their throats, and a cold sweat breaks out on their skin. They cling to each other, seeking comfort in the face of unimaginable terror. The laughter and romance of moments ago are replaced by screams of fear and desperation. Each time they passed the opposite gondola, two shadowy figures stared back, their presence growing more distinct with each revolution. At first, they are mere glimpses, fleeting shadows that dance in the periphery of their vision. But as the wheel turns, the figures solidify, taking on a menacing form. Growing clearer with every turn, the figures become more defined, their features sharpening in the darkness. They are no longer just shadows, but spectral apparitions, their eyes burning with an unholy light. Mark and Jessica realize that they are not alone, that they are sharing this terrifying ride with something not of this world. Soon, Mark and Jessica saw their own faces reflected in the shadows, but twisted and distorted, devoid of life and hope. The figures in the opposite gondola begin to mirror their own expressions, their fear and despair amplified and reflected back at them. It is as if they are staring into a dark mirror, confronting their own mortality. Hollow-eyed and empty, the light in their eyes has been extinguished, replaced by a vacant stare that chills Mark and Jessica to the core. They see the emptiness that awaits them, the void that threatens to consume them. They realize they were trapped, caught in an endless cycle of fear and despair, doomed to repeat this terrifying ride for eternity. The Ferris wheel has become their prison, a symbol of their eternal torment. There is no escape, no way to break free from the clutches of the shadows. Doomed to ride the phantom wheel forever, their screams echoing unheard in the empty night. They are trapped in a loop, reliving their final moments over and over again, their fear and despair intensifying with each revolution. The wheel spins relentlessly, carrying them further and further into the abyss, becoming the very shadows they feared. Their bodies begin to fade, their forms becoming indistinct, merging with the darkness that surrounds them. They are losing their identity, their humanity, becoming nothing more than ghostly echoes of their former selves. But here's the twist. This isn't just a ghost story, this isn't just a tale to frighten children around a campfire. There's a deeper, more unsettling truth hidden beneath the surface of this supernatural encounter. Years later, investigators traced the legend to a real tragedy, a dark secret buried beneath the cheerful facade of the carnival. They delved into dusty archives, piecing together fragments of forgotten history, searching for the truth behind the ghostly apparitions. A Ferris wheel accident in 1978. A night of revelry turned into a nightmare, a moment of joy transformed into a scene of unspeakable horror. The investigators uncovered a story of negligence, of broken promises, and of lives tragically cut short. 2 people died that night, but their names weren't Mark and Jessica. The legend had twisted the truth, replacing the real victims with fictional characters, obscuring their identities and erasing their stories. The victims were Arthur and Sarah, their names etched in the annals of tragedy, their lives forever intertwined with the dark history of the carnival. They were real people with dreams and aspirations whose lives were tragically stolen on that fateful night. The clown and the journalist from our earlier tales. Their paths had crossed before, their stories interwoven in the tapestry of the carnival. Little did they know that their fates would be sealed together, their lives ending in a shared tragedy. Their stories didn't end in the funhouse or the big top. Their destinies were not to be confined to the laughter and spectacle of the carnival. A darker force was at play, pulling them towards a tragic climax. They converged, ending together in a final, tragic fall. The Ferris wheel, once a symbol of joy and wonder, became their tomb, a monument to their shattered dreams. Their lives were extinguished in a single, horrifying moment, leaving behind a legacy of sorrow and regret. The carnival twisted their fates into legend, transforming their real-life tragedy into a sensational ghost story, exploiting their pain for entertainment. The truth was buried beneath layers of myth and folklore, their identities obscured by the mists of time, hiding the truth behind a romantic ghost story. The carnival spun a tale of star-crossed lovers trapped on a haunted Ferris wheel, distracting from the grim reality of the accident and the lives that were lost. The real victims became shadows, their memories fading with each passing year, their stories relegated to the realm of forgotten tragedies. They were reduced to mere whispers, their names barely remembered, their lives overshadowed by the sensationalism of the ghost story, their horror masked by myth. The carnival perpetuated the legend, feeding on the fear and fascination of its patrons, profiting from the tragedy of Arthur and Sarah. The truth remained hidden, buried beneath layers of entertainment and spectacle. The carnival moves on, feeding on stories and souls, leaving behind a trail of broken dreams and forgotten tragedies. It travels from town to town, preying on the vulnerable, exploiting their fears and desires, leaving a lasting impact on the communities it touches, leaving only legends behind. The Ferris wheel stands as a silent testament to the darkness that lurks beneath the surface of the carnival, a reminder that even the most joyous of places can harbor secrets and tragedies. The carnival moves on, but the legends remain, haunting the landscape and whispering tales of lost souls and twisted fates. And that's where our journey ends. 3 tales, 1 chilling truth. The carnival after dark is a place of secrets where stories and souls are collected and twisted. If you have your own creepy carnival story, share it in the comments below. We'll be back soon with more strange, dark, and mysterious tales. Until next time, be safe and remember, at the carnival after dark, you never know what's waiting in the shadows. Good night.